Chartered Adventuring! Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to another Session Zero, where we talk to the personalities and people that are in charge of our campaigns and games. Today we are meeting with another one of our players, Ian Anderson. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and, we're going to talk today about your character from the Wondrous Gateway to Oz. You are playing a character from the D&D side of things, the Forgotten Realms. What is your character's name?
His name is Gorbash Ommadon.
Ommadon.
He is, yes.
That's a mouthful. So
it is.
And you are actually playing a rather rare and unique race, not necessarily class, but the race is something unique. What is it, and what made you decide that that's what you wanted to go with for this particular campaign?
So the race I went off is the turtle. The turtle, yes.
So it's a giant turtle person.
Yes, correct. Basically, I guess you can say it's a standing squirrel or a ninja turtle.
Are you a teenager?
No, but I am a Squirtle fan.
All right, so other than being a Squirtle fan, what made you choose to play the race of turtle people?
Most certainly. So one of the things that I've always been doing, especially when it comes to creating characters, I like to play the weird races, I guess we can say. Whenever I am able to, it is one of the things that, especially in, like, for example, the other campaigns that we do, I do tend to play the weirder of the races. For example, in one of our other campaigns, I play Warforged.
That's true.
But when it came to this one, especially since the turtle finally got released, and this was the next campaign that we were going to be playing, I've really been wanting to play the turtle ever since the release. But I think since last year, I think was when it came out or so.
Somewhere in that area, yeah. It's fairly recent addition to the D&D stable of playable characters and races.
Mm-hmm.
So you're playing a turtle, and you're a druid. From the Forgotten Realms setting, what are your character's mindset and everything? What are you planning on bringing to the table for this campaign? What does your character offer that's going to be the standout?
Most certainly. So for where he is from in the Feywild, he is used to a lot of fighting, especially for the fact of where the type of city that he's in. It tends to it fights different types of races. So one of the things that he would be bringing is for protection. But also that is the turtle race itself. They are also known to be adventurers and explorers, but they also love to make friends. And then in this area, especially for my understanding of Oz, is that they're wanting to get to know people, kind of a thing. Especially since this is a new realm or a new portal area, he wants to explore the area. He wants to make new friends.
All right, so a little bit of wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You did mention yet another strange aspect to your character that I was going to touch on a little later, but since you brought it up, we're going to talk about it right now. Your character has spent time in the Feywild, which is the D&D equivalent of the Faerie realms.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around in Forgotten Realms for a long time. There is a new 5th edition Feywild book adventure that's coming out September 21st. That looks fairly interesting. I don't have a lot of experience with the Feywild as far as D&D goes. I know a lot of the folklore and things like that. You already told us why you chose a turtle. Why choose a turtle who's been in the Feywild? Like, what was the attraction there?
So I guess for the Feywild itself, my most interesting aspect of it, the reason why I wanted to choose the Feywild initially was because, not pertaining especially to D&D, but I've also read a lot of books about the Fae, such as the Iron Druid series, the Harry Dresden series, which a lot of people read about.
Love Jim
but
Butcher.
there's also and there's also the Rachel Morgan Hollow series. They all have aspects about the Fae, and as the Feywild is, at least to my understanding how it works in the D&D world, it's literally is almost the same thing, where it's more on the aspects of it's a storytelling realm. Where things they didn't believe that actually came into effect actually happen in the Feywild. There's also the aspects of that I like is that what you say is what's going to happen. If you go against it, you're going to be basically become captured, or you'll be owned by whoever's there.
All right, the ancient fairy rights of the bargain and keeping your word. That's been folklore for time out of memory there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're familiar with the Feywild. You've played D&D with us since the beginning. You're one of the original members of Chartered Adventuring. You've been with us since we started up a few years back, and have been probably playing far longer than that. I know I have. So how familiar are you with the Oz setting? How familiar are you with the books and the history of it and what it is? And if you are familiar with it, what are you looking forward to maybe seeing during the campaign coming up?
The most familiar I am with it itself is Wizard of Oz.
The movie.
Exactly.
I think that's a lot of us, yeah.
Other than that, I'm not that familiar with it, but that is actually what's making me more interested in it, is that I want to be able to learn more about the aspect of it, especially since our DM, or our storyteller, he is the Grand Wizard of when it comes to Oz, and that is one of the things that I'm wanting to learn about.
He is our historian of Oz.
Sorry, historian.
Patrick is in no way, shape, or form a Grand Wizard of any sort. Although he has played a wizard before, just not that kind. We've got everything from the Feywild to the Tortles. Did you decide to pick a character from the D&D side? I know that originally you had been talking to Patrick. You were talking about maybe making an Oz creature or character, but you went back and stuck with the D&D. What were some influencing factors to choose D&D over the Oz setting?
One of them would be the fact of, because I was wanting to get out of my comfort zone. It's one of the things that, with the past campaigns that I played in, I'm usually always like a fighter or a monk. And I'm wanting to get into something that's more of a magic side. So, which is why I went to the druid side of it. Of the aspect, it's not a pure, I guess you can say pure magic. It sort of is, but it's more of a magic side user than it is a pure melee fighter. And that is something I was wanting to do. And to my knowledge of that with Oz, and there not being as much on the aspect of magic or fairy spells, that's why I was switching to the fair room side and wanting to play on something I'm more understanding and have more knowledge about.
So you wanted to have a little bit of grounding before you got, too weird.
Correct.
So playing a turtle from the Feywild is not weird enough. At least exactly. He started out in Waterdeep. It's okay. All right. So you said you've read a lot of books about the Fae and Faerie and some of the folklore and things like that. The folklore's been around far longer than even Oz. Oz was around, early 1900s, late 1800s. It's been around for that long. The stories of the fairies and everything that goes on. That's culture way back. People were scared about fairies taking their children out of their cribs in the middle of the night. So if you do know as much as you say you do, I've got a surprise for you. We're going to do a short little quiz. I'm going to give you some questions. I'm going to see if you can answer them. We'll see how many you get right. See if you really are attuned to the Feywild here. Are you ready? You want to give it a shot? All right. So we'll start with an easy one. What are the two courts of Faerie called? There are two acceptable answers.
Winter and summer.
Okay. Do you know the other names?
On that aspect of it, you mean the other names of what they're called?
Yes,
or
the other names of the two courts.
On that one, I do not remember, no.
All right. You got it. Summer and winter are absolutely correct. They are also referred to as the Seelie and Unseelie courts.
Yep. Gotcha. Sorry.
The Seelie are the beautiful elves and things like that. The Unseelie are all the trolls and bridge monsters and things. Mm-hmm. All right. This little vicious fairy uses his victim's blood to dye his headwear. What is he named?
Rumpelstiltskin?
No. Rumpelstiltskin's from a later fairy tale. He is technically one of the Fae, but it's a type of fairy creature. They're very bloodthirsty.
Yep.
What are
I'm
they
picturing
called?
them.
Do we have an answer?
They're usually in the.
Take your best shot.
I'm trying to think of the name of them. They're usually the ones that are in the that they have statues of inside the grass.
That's true. That is the dark history of garden gnomes.
There we go.
No,
gnomes.
Gnomes.
That's what.
So those particular creatures are called red caps. They dye their caps in the blood of their victims. Yes. Fairy lore is very dark. That's where a lot of Grimms come from. All right, so this has been in... Neil Gaiman had a bit in his Sandman series that paid tribute to this, but William Shakespeare wrote a play that was all about the fairy realm. Do you know the name of that play?
I actually did not know that he wrote a play about the fairy realm at all, to be honest with you.
He did. He really did. It took place within the realm of fairy. It's called A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Huh.
Which was also a portion of the Sandman comic books. It was called A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's in the comics, Shakespeare takes his band out to a field where he does the play for the fairy king and queen. Now we're going to go on to the third one. What are the names of the king and queen of fairy?
Oh, geez. So that, I will be honest with you, I actually never knew the names of them, because at least on the books that I've read, I've always seen them as like the mother, the child, and the crone, I think it was. Right. But that's how I always knew it, at least from the Winter Court side.
Right. So you're touching on the Jim Butcher Dresden novels. Gotcha.
Which I think the Iron Druid goes into a little bit on that aspect of it too, and so did the other series. But yes.
All right. So the king and queen of fairy. The king's name is Oberon, and the queen's name is Titania.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Those are the old ones. All right, so last question. This is the last one.
Wasn't Titania, though, the one for the summer, though? Wasn't there another name for the winter?
Titania and Oberon are both they're both from the summer court, because they're actual, like, fairies, but they're the king and queen of Fae in general. Like, they're the high muckety-mucks.
Gotcha.
The one you're thinking of, the Winter Court, that was mentioned in Jim Butcher's books, is named Mab. And Mab is an amalgamation of an old Celtic fairy legend.
Gotcha.
Which is also way dark. You should look it up when you get the chance after this. All right, last question. Let's see if we can get this one. In the folklore, all Fae creatures have a rather specific weakness. What is it?
Iron.
You're right. Cold iron is the specific weakness that is common to all Fae. They avoid it like the plague. That's something that's been featured in many books and novels, as well as movies like Hellboy and several others. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I had them at one point, but I can't remember them. All right, so we'll give you 2 out of 5 there. So you got to brush up before we can call you a creature of the Feywild. But the new book's coming out next month, so you'll have a chance to study up. All right, Ian, thank you very much for joining us for Session 0. I appreciate talking to you. It was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to get back to this campaign and see where it's going to take us. I'm sure my speaking bear and your turtle are going to get along famously.
Most certainly, I'm definitely looking forward to that aspect of it too, especially since they didn't really meet each other fully yet. But
it's true. That's true. When I was on our second game, when I heard you start talking, I actually had to ask Sean. I was like, "Is he stealing my voice?" Because they're similar. They're just not quite the same. We both have that low, slow kind of, but it fits with a bear and a turtle. Maybe fairly similar.
And anyway, I didn't even think about that either. I was just trying to talk.
That's like, I appreciate you putting the effort into making your character come to life. So looking forward to watching some more Wondrous Gateway to Oz. Keep it tuned right here on this channel. We will be premiering new episodes very shortly. Thanks for watching Session Zero, everybody. Goodbye.
Peace.
You want thingamabob?